almost have to start with Senator Feinstein, whether you're conservative or Republican, don't you? I mean, listen, there was respect for her across the board. She was a trailblazer. She was a champion for gun control. And she was a champion for gun control because she was on the scene when Harvey Milk, the city councilman, the first gay city council member in San Francisco, was killed by another council member 30, 40 years ago. And so that burned that burned in her heart, and she was a leader as a rookie senator to get assault weapons ban along with Metzenbaum. I think this was in the 80s. And so as a result, I mean, she's a trailblazer, certainly a first champion for people of color and gays and, of course, women. I think what we miss about the greatness of Senator Feinstein is she was a mentor to Democratic and Republican elected officials and just so very well respected. Her health was what her health was. You never know when you're going to get your wings, but she will not only be missed, but as my mother would say, she left this community, this place, this United States in public service. She left it better.
Yeah, and it's interesting, when someone of this stature dies, you do see, I mean, there's so many complaints about politics, and rightfully so, by the way, but you do see people coming together, which is nice, and, it kind of brings us back to an older time. I don't know if it was better back then or not, but it certainly seemed like it was, and, and we heard a lot of that
Seemed
today.
like a long time ago.
Yeah, I know, whether it was or not, but it just, we always think it was, and I guess it's nice to see.
California needs, and the U.S. Senate, for the Democrats who control the Senate, need a very competent, capable, someone that can hit the ground running, who happens to be an African-American woman versus an African-American woman and what have you. I certainly support that. Gavin Newsom, who has a future in Democratic politics, most likely needs to keep his word on that. And then there's going to be an election. What frees him a little bit is there'll be an election, I think, in 10 to 14 months, and his appointment will be an interim appointment. But he's got to appoint someone who's a strong Democrat, capable of getting the job done. And I would hope in the likes of Senator Feinstein, who was fearless, capable, and representing California and really all Americans in a very positive way.
All right, I want to get, let me just get a quick comment from you on what we said we would talk about coming in, which is the Kevin McCarthy situation. All those names we put up, in the House. There's maybe they might shut down the government tonight, and then there's this talk about whether Kevin McCarthy would be replaced as Speaker. Do you have any perspective on that? Is all the speculation about, even from Democrats' perspective, is like, well, if McCarthy goes, would it be any better? And I think Republicans, in some cases, are asking themselves the same thing. How do you think that'll play out?
Well, McCarthy's in an impossible situation to lead because he's got a huge conflict of interest. He's got a very large MAGA piece, and they don't appear to care as much about shutting the country down as opposed to their issues, their reduction in spending and what have you. McCarthy's got a choice. He can go work with the Democrats and try to build an alliance with them to survive his speakership. If that could be built, that's unlikely. Or he can cut a new deal with the MAGA Republicans. There are only 4 or 5 that are really causing this holdup, and the Republicans are going to be blamed for shutting down the government. The deal they had with Biden 3 months, 6 months ago is the deal in place, and now McCarthy's walking away from it. The president's not going to save him. He's just in a really tough position, and unfortunately, 2 things may happen. That is, the government gets shut down, McCarthy gets replaced, but whoever his replacement isn't going to be better or worse, because if the rule is I can move for you to remove the speaker if I don't like what you're saying or doing, or you don't keep your commitments, then it's still a huge conflict of interest. You can't be voting for your personal interest and leadership and voting for what's best in the country or best for the GOP. Democracy needs 2 strong political parties. Let me say that one more time. It needs 2 strong political parties, regardless of how much I disagree with the GOP. Both need to be strong. And right now, the GOP, as my grandmother would say, is in a bit of a hot mess.